Hello, I'm Jamila Musayeva, an international social etiquette consultant, author of etiquette books as well as online courses. If you would like to order my books, they are available now for international worldwide shipment. I'll link it here as well in the description box below. You can find them on my website for direct shipment. Also, if you're interested in learning more about etiquette, you can join my pre-recorded online courses, The Art of Entertaining at Home, as well as Western Formal Dining Etiquette from A to Z. Those are pre-recorded courses so you can access them at any time and learn at your own pace. Bear in mind that by finishing these courses, you'll also be able to attain a certificate of completion. If you're watching this video, make sure that you do until the very end of this video, because at the end I always share my outfit of the video, so OOTD, which is a new term I've coined, and I'll be sharing all the details and the labels of what I'm wearing for this video. So let's get started with today's video, and that is how to make the first good impressions. Impressions matter a lot, and I will not be here sitting and telling you for hours how important are the first impressions. They can make or break the deal. They matter a lot in terms of how much opportunities we get and how much access we allow people to have to us, how much interaction we're willing to have with the person if we're meeting them for the very first time. You know, there's science behind it. A lot of the business journals have been publishing and saying that the data shows that it only takes about 7 seconds to make the first impression, but I would say it's even faster than that. It's really within some milliseconds that we're able to make up our mind, because it's an instinctual thing. I think a lot of animals in the animal world have that. They perceive something as being a danger, or something as being a prey, or someone or something as being nice for them or good for them. So we can immediately tell if something is good for us, or if someone is good for us, or is a match for us. And it's very important that you do not overlook the amount of influence the first impression that you make will have on your life in general, in your life journey, in your job opportunities, in the potential relationship that you're going to have. So this video is here to help you to make that very first good impression. The first and the most important thing, of course, we want to live in a society where we don't judge a book by its cover, but the truth is we all do. It's a way of life, if you will. Even if you don't accept it, this is just how the life in general works. And if we are being real with ourselves and realistic, we also judge people by our first impressions, by the first look that we have at the person. So we cannot overlook the fact that the importance of looking good in order to make a good first impression. And by looking good, I don't mean a certain standard of beauty. Rather, I mean you have to pay attention to how you are dressed and how you're groomed in general. So dressing well head to toe and being groomed head to toe is very important. With the first point being dress well, the importance here is understanding that dressing well doesn't necessarily mean wearing something expensive or wearing, luxury brands that have labels all over you. It's not about that. Really, dressing well is wearing something that is appropriate for the occasion that you're in, and also that is fitting to your stature, to your body shape and proportions. I have seen people that are wearing luxury brands that don't fit their body type or are not adequate for the event that they're going to, and they look completely out of place. And I've seen people that might wear something very simple, you don't even know what they're wearing, but they're so good looking in whatever they are carrying. So instead of them wearing out the clothes, they're not the hanger that is really to show the clothes, but they are a whole body that is adorned with nice piece of clothes. And that's very important. The distinction, I think, is really important. So the clothes should be helping you to make an integral look, rather than you promoting the product or you carrying the label on you. So dressing well is very important when it comes to making a first good impression. I will put together the dressing well as well as the grooming as one point. So having discussed the dressing well, grooming is extremely important, because when you walk into somewhere, people first notice what you're wearing head to toe, and then the thing that makes an overall impression is how well groomed you are. Once we have allowed you into our physical space, we then analyze. We look at the fingernails, we look at the hair, we look at the skin on the face. So we pay attention to things that we can actually analyze from closer up. And that's why even if you're wearing the most beautiful dress out there and your hair is not is not clean, it's full of dandruff, it is oily, or your nails are chipped, you're not going to make an overall good impression. So dressing well goes into hygiene, grooming, as well as clothes. Not just a certain part of your body should be groomed, but head to toe should be taken care of. The second thing that I think most people observe about you is how you hold yourself, so your posture. It's really incredibly important, because you might wear the same kind of a dress, but because of your posture, the dress might just look completely different on you. The way you carry the dress, the way you carry yourself is tremendously important when you are trying to make a good first impression. If you are slouching, if you are shy, hiding around, if you don't have a good posture, you don't have a confident body language, you're never going to make a good impression. Good posture is essential, and in order to learn how to have a good posture, you can check out my 2 or 3, I think, the videos that I've done on good posture. There are some exercises that you can incorporate. You have definitely to pick up some kind of a sport or activity that will help you strengthen your muscles of your back and your core, so you can hold that good posture. And even if good posture might not be something that you are able to maintain, say, if you're just starting out and you can't practice it, holding yourself correct throughout the whole day, try doing it 1, 2, 3 hours a day. Especially be mindful of your posture when you're walking into an event where you're meeting people. It might be a social gathering, networking event, a job interview. Be especially mindful of your posture when you are out and about meeting people. The third tip I would tell you to keep in mind when trying to make a good impression is pacing yourself. Pacing your speech, pacing your movements, pacing your gestures. I have been observing a lot of people in networking events, and one thing I can assure you is the person that takes time to speak, that takes time to gesture, that takes time in their movements general, they're not abrupt, that are not in a hurry, that are not blabbering and saying a lot of things in very few seconds or minutes they're allowed to talk to you. I realize that people that pace themselves, that slow down, have generally more confident aura than the ones that don't. And it doesn't matter if they're truly confident or not. It might be that they're just intentionally incorporating slow movements in order to give off that aura. Make sure that you're someone who speaks really fast. If you're someone who's haphazard in their movements, that's really impatient in their movements, try to pace yourself down. I have been observing people, when they're about to go on a stage to give a speech, if they're taking the time to walk up of the stage and they're comfortable with the silence before they start speaking, immediately the whole aura of them is just exuberating this confidence. Versus when you're looking at someone who might be the most accredited person, has amazing credentials, but they are constantly in a rush, they're in a hurry, their movements are really always like here and there. You really don't feel like they're comfortable or confident in that setting. So pacing yourself is important when you're trying to make a good first impression. Pacing yourself is especially important when you're being introduced to someone and you really have to present yourself and you have a few seconds to do so, a few minutes of very short interaction with the person that you've been introduced to. You know that they have to talk to other people as well, so you're not going to overtake their time. But you really have to be comfortable with being slow, but having enough to say about you without blabbering on, because usually when we're meeting someone, there isn't a lot of information we're going to retain. So try to narrow it down to the most essential things about yourself, and you have to say it in a very slow and confident manner, instead of trying to squeeze in as much as you can information about yourself within that 1 minute time. The fourth thing that I consider very important when it comes to having this good first impression is, once a person has met you, seen how you carry yourself, you have been introduced to each other, so you say hi. For example, I'm Jamila Musayeva, an etiquette expert and author, as well as a YouTuber. The next thing I do once I've introduced myself is I'll extend my hand for a handshake. And once I have extended my hand for a handshake, I'm receiving this handshake, I can tell within a few seconds how I feel about this handshake. It can leave a very interesting lingering aftertaste. I have had the occasions where I've extended my hand for a handshake with a man or a woman, and instead of receiving a firm, good handshake that has, covered all my hand and has felt confident, I was given a little fingerella, so something that's just, they've extended their fingers or they've just offered their fingers for a handshake, or the handshake was very, very weak, slightly touching my fingers. It didn't make me feel comfortable and didn't make me feel good about the person that I've met. Again, these impressions can change over time. They're not always there to stay, but the first impression really matters if I'm going to, have another chance with this person, if I want to have another interaction with the person. So having a good, firm handshake is very important, especially nowadays in the business world, where everyone is doing, working with everyone, and handshake has become the universal way of greeting people. If you don't know how to have a good handshake, you can check out my video that I've done a while back about how to have a good handshake. The fifth important tip that I would recommend doing, and I have witnessed this lately in an event that I attended, that a lot of people struggled with introducing themselves. They didn't know what kind of information to provide within the very few minutes that they were allowed to talk to the person. This allotted time was so short that they didn't know what to say, and instead they either went ranting, blabbering, or just didn't know what to say and then just went silent completely. What I would recommend to do is have a tagline introduction. It could be a sentence, 2 sentences, a few words that describe who you are. You all make fun of my introductory line on YouTube when I start off by saying, "Hello, I'm Jamila Musayeva, an etiquette expert, an author of etiquette books." I think this might be funny for those that are coming back to watch my channel over and over again, but anyone who views my channel for the very first time, it gives them just enough information about who I am and why I'm allowed to talk about the things that I'm talking. So it really is a tagline introduction, and this is something I would recommend you to do if you're in the business world, if you're a working person. You have to have something, or if you're an entrepreneur, you have to have a tagline introduction. So what it is that you do, the essentials. You don't want to overburden the person you're meeting for the very first time with everything that you do. If you give them just enough information for them to then ask you questions if they want to learn more about you. If they want to learn more about you but don't have time to ask questions now, they say, "Can you please give me your business card? I'll get in touch with you." So the tagline should be quite catchy and should summarize exactly what you do. The sixth important tip when it comes to making good first impression, especially when it comes, again, this is all about business etiquette and social gatherings and things where you want to introduce yourself to other people, is making sure that you carry your business cards with you. Some people used to think that business cards are something that are quite archaic. Now that we're going paperless everywhere, we have forgotten about business cards, but I assure you that's not the case. I have been going to a lot of networking events, I've been meeting a lot of people, I've been going to a lot of events, and I know that business cards still matter, and they're very important. And having one that is reflective of your brand identity, that is clean, neat, well organized, that you have it at your hand every time, that disposable, so that you can actually hand it in to the person rather than saying, "Oh, I forgot one, I had one at home, this is a picture of my card, you can scan it or look at it." So the best thing is to have hard copies always with you. You never know when you're going to meet the person that you need to meet for your work, for your relationship, so it's important to have your business cards always at hand. Tip number 7 that I would recommend when it comes to making a good first impression is giving the person you are meeting, no matter who they are or no matter how you think they're important or unimportant for your work or your relationship or your career, give that person undivided attention for the time being that you're paying attention to them. I guarantee you they will remember you for the attention that you've given to them. Maybe they'll forget, how you looked, what you did, but they will remember that they will listen to. I can just tell you from my personal experience how many times I've seen people just feeling like a networking event is like a marathon. They're sprinting from one person to another, trying to meet as many people as they can. Whereas in reality, the quality of these meetings is usually undermined. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you don't have to meet all 20 people in the room. You can only meet 5 people in the room, but the connections that you make with each and every one in that room, the 5 people that you've met, is deep enough. I'm not saying it's going to be a very deep connection because it's usually a very fast-paced environment, but rather you're remembered for paying attention to them, and hopefully they'll be remembered for paying attention to you. So instead of trying to spree through everyone in the room, take your time, listen at the time that when you are meeting and being introduced to them, or them telling them about themselves to you, or you telling about yourself to other people. I've seen people, when they're making an introduction, when they're talking about themselves, their eyes will be just looking at trying to catch the next victim, so to speak, to meet. So they're talking to you, but their eyes are everywhere, and that doesn't feel good. It immediately ruins the impression. So take your time. If you want to tell about yourself to that person, say it, look it in their eye, and then when you want to part, you can say, excuse me, I will have to go because I have to meet this other person, or excuse me, I'm going to get myself a drink, and then you can exit the conversation and leave to meet other people. The 8th important tip in making good impressions is making sure that you master the small talk. A lot of us try to avoid the small talk. We feel awkward. We feel much more comfortable to delve into deeper conversations, but we feel really awkward in trying to handle or maneuver the small talk. But small talks are very important because before the deeper connection happens, they're the small talk that has to happen. So it's almost like the first step that you need to take that's ugly, that's nasty, but then it goes deeper and deeper, and then you feel more comfortable and confident. You have to know that small talk is something that we do in order to establish rapport, so a sense of trust or a sense of friendliness with the person we're trying to interact with, but it's also the first stepping stone into creating a connection with a person, and then onwards we can create something deeper than that. If you don't know how to do small talk, you can check out my video, The Art of Small Talk. I talk about how to do it well and how to master it. So make sure to check out that video. Still on the topic of small talk, there's one thing I wanted to mention that's very important, that comes from a lot of my observations, having been in a lot of events, is that the first thing, you have to be interested rather than interesting or trying to be interesting. The more interested you are in the person that you're having a small talk with, the more impressed they're going to be by you. So do not try to talk a lot about yourself. Instead, try to be interested in what that person is doing or wants to talk to you about. It's interesting how when you go to this event, everyone wants to be interesting to others, and there's very few people that are interested in learning about the other people. So be the one that is in minority group and try to be interested in other people, and people will remember you for that. Along with that, an important thing that I personally find is useful to highlight when it comes to small talk is, instead of trying to sell yourself, so trying to be super interesting and try to only talk about yourself and then try to offer your services, be pushy, it immediately makes the person take this standoff kind of position and try not to interact with you anymore, because they know you're there to try to sell yourself, and we all are, but that's not the point of small talk. That's not where you start doing business, or that's not where you're trying to get clients. This is the stage when you want to break the ice, so to speak. And so instead of trying to immediately sell your services and immediately make demands on the person or ask for favors, you have to first break the ice and make the person feel comfortable. So instead of demanding or instead of selling, you have to first inform. What is it that you do? Be interested in what they're doing. Think of the ways that you can help each other. Don't make it all about yourself. I have seen people, when they meet someone that they deem are important for their career, they jump on, introduce themselves, and then say, I want you to do this for me, that for me, I think you should do this. And you have to show, even if you want to ask for something, you can tell them how it's going to benefit them as well. Maybe it's something that you really want them to show to other people. Maybe you're so admiring of their work that you want the world to see it. Maybe you are fascinated by their discoveries and want to publish an article about them. So it has to be a mutual connection, it has to be a mutual favor. It doesn't have to be something they do for you. And in order to avoid creating this barrier with a person, avoid being too interesting only and not being interested, and avoid asking for favors right away. And finishing up with a small talk, another point that I wanted to mention, that I mentioned earlier as well, is do not, when you're trying to meet more people, don't jump from one person to another, leaving the small talk without an exit. So, you're having a conversation, you spot someone more interesting, and you run away without finishing up with the conversation you're having here. It's important to let the person know that the conversation is over, that you're about to exit. Excuse yourself to the washroom, to grab a drink if you can. If there's a buffet there, excuse yourself to say, I saw a colleague of mine that I want to talk to as well, or I met this other person that I want to talk to about my work. So you let the person know that you're about to leave the conversation, rather than have them just be standing there and you exiting it without announcing it. If anyone else has approached the person and they're already talking to the other person, you can just excuse yourself, say excuse me, and leave without having to explain if they're already having a conversation. The 9th important tip when it comes to making good impressions is, of course, having good basic table manners. I assure you, no one has forgotten about table manners. Everyone knows about its importance. Any networking event, any social event, business event is usually somewhere involving something where you share food, you share maybe lunch, dinner, maybe it's just a coffee break. So basic table manners are really important because if you are invited for a business lunch and you don't know how to handle things at the table, you will be remembered for your poor manners at the table, and everything else that you did before will be overlooked. I always say this, that the people that have the best table manners are the ones that are never remembered for what they did at the table. So you will rarely remember anyone who did really well at the table. You only remember people or instances where some things went wrong, and that is when your whole image, your whole reputation, or your whole impression is really shattered by the one faux pas, so a mistake that you did at the table. Having good basic table manners is very important. You can check out my dining etiquette videos on YouTube, as well as join my Western Formal Dining pre-recorded online course that was also available in Spanish, Arabic, and English on my website. And the 10th last tip for making good, lasting first good impressions is never forgetting that the first impression starts with a few seconds, but it can take a day to formulate. What I mean by that, if the event is going, say, for 3 days, bear in mind that the impression that you're making has to be lasting. So, you did a really good job at the first day and then you let yourself lose the second, third day, that impression will be gone. So when you're thinking of first impression, it should be for the duration of the time that you are in interaction with the person. If the event is from, for 1 day, then you have to be on your toes that 1 day to keep the impression going. I have been witnessing a situation where a good first impression was made, an hour to the event, and then they had too much drink, something happened, they just, I feel like, lost control over themselves, and that first impression that I had in 1 hour was shattered in the next few hours. But if the person left the meeting or left the event with the first hour impression that they left on me, it would have been better for creating a relationship, for creating a connection, and creating some kind of like a partnership. So not just in terms of romantic, but I mean like more business and work-wise. So it is important to be on your toes for the duration of the time that you are trying to make a good first impression. It takes few seconds to judge if you want to have a conversation with a person, but that impression is being made throughout the time that you're interacting with them. So make sure to remember to be on your good behavior or your best behavior throughout the whole time that you're interacting with the people you're meeting for the very first time. So for today, I'm wearing this blazer by Nanushka. It is a blazer I bought, I think, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. You've probably seen me wearing them in a lot of my pictures from way before. It's a super comfortable blazer. I wear it when I'm traveling, I wear it for work, I wear it for going out. It's just a very versatile leather blazer. I have worn underneath a dress by Zara. It's actually a sleeveless dress. So it's a sleeveless dress with a turtleneck, and it's a spaghetti dress, super fitting. It's the kind of dresses I like to wear in winter because you can pair them up with boots, you can wear them with sneakers and a knitted cardigan, you can wear it with a blazer like I'm wearing right now. So they're super versatile as well. You can wear it as a casual dress or with heels and a blazer, or without a blazer, you can wear it for going out. And I have paired this look with Chanel slingbacks. These are in black, and I love the fact that they have block heels. The heel is slightly taller than the regular slingbacks that they have, the classical ones. And so these heels are really nice when you're going out, but really want to feel comfortable. And these are great for work as well. So this is the total look for today's video, and I hope you like it. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did like it, please give the thumbs up and let me know down in the comment sections which of these tips you enjoyed the most. And of course, I'm always interested in learning about your video suggestions. Thank you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!